Welcome back, everyone. Episode 7. Cole, Joey, Jordan. Let's get you into it with Dogs at the Vet. Women's soccer last week. The last week of the regular season we got so far, they had a tie on the road against Valpo and an unfortunate loss on, was it Sunday? Sunday against UIC? Yes. Sunday against UIC. That one kind of hurts just because we had a higher ranking than them. But nevertheless, it's not really going to kill us. We still have the number 4 seed in the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament, which is our first time ever making that tournament. So basically, what are our expectations heading into their first game is this Sunday now, correct?
Yeah, they do have that bye. We're gonna have to watch that game, either Drake or Murray State, I should say, number 5 against the number 8 seed there. So we're hoping to get a good look at whatever team we're gonna be playing on Sunday. That game will be on Thursday.
Gotcha. Guess there's plenty of rest.
Yeah, with all the adversity they're going through right now, the seniors on the team, and it seems like they can't catch a break. I mean, coming into a program that just started as a freshman, and going through everything they've gone through, especially with everything that's gone on with the coaches, it's time for them to rise up and show that leadership that they've built up over the last 3 or 4 years. And it's going to be tough, though. Obviously, each situation is different. You're never going to be able to do everything perfectly, but with the season that we're having right now, we really got to pull it out. Thankfully, this is at home this weekend, so that's pretty important for us.
Yeah, we tend to play pretty well at home, and it seems like our defense should be able to keep us, pretty locked in. So that would be good.
And another women's sport, women's volleyball. They are coming off of 2 home losses against UIC and then number 5 Valparaiso on Saturday. They currently sit at number 4 in the conference as well, 14-9, 7-4 in the Missouri Valley Conference. They'll for the next week be back on the road after 20 straight days without road games. That's pretty crazy for women's volleyball. They'll be at number 8 Bradley on Friday, and then at number 10 Illinois State. This is just another chance to get some bounce back games after just a couple rough home games against UIC and Valparaiso. But we got to find some ways to close out some of these games. We had chances to take leads, 2-0 leads, or even just take the wins against UIC and Valparaiso, and they just couldn't get it done. They had a lead there against UIC in set 4, and they couldn't get it done, so that pushed it to set 5, and that was a close one. Just got to figure ways out to finish these games.
It seems like with the women's volleyball team this year, it's very up and down and up and down. Would you say that's correct? Where they have these really good runs, and then sometimes they really fall down with that. Possibly injuries, or they still have a lot of players suffering from injuries right now, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, you'd like to see a little bit better, but they still have plenty of time to really correct and right the ship.
Yeah, just like you said with the injuries, depth is going to be an issue. Heading into the postseason, CC Bowman needs to get both great outside hitters, both players who had a big impact at the start of the season, doing as well as they did. And they're still a young team too. We forget that. I think with how good they were playing, we kind of just glossed over that. And they're going to have some bumps in the road like they did this past weekend. But these 2 games coming up against teams that they should win. And we'll talk about another saluki sport that didn't beat a team they should win in a second. But with the way that they've been playing, I trust them to bounce back this weekend. I'm looking forward to watching them this weekend. And I just kind of alluded to them. Over to the gridiron, it was a bad week for saluki football. I know us 3 were talking in a group chat over the weekend after that game. It was not a pleasant sight. I wouldn't advise going back and reading that. Bad loss versus South Dakota, 27-24 in a game that we were leading basically up until the end. And I hate to say it, but this has kind of been a typical game of the Nick Hill era the last few years.
It has been.
Where we go in with all this momentum, 5 wins in a row, and then dropping a game to no disrespect to South Dakota, they've got a great defensive staff over there, but at what point do you decide to say, okay, maybe we got a little too excited about this team, because even though they did win 5 in a row, they did lose those 2 games in the beginning, in ugly fashion, both of them in a little bit different ways. That team is always in them at some point, and unfortunately, they showed themselves again, dropping down to number 24 in the polls. I think they did extend the playoffs, didn't they, this year? I think it is like 24 teams now.
Yeah, it's something.
So,
along those lines.
I mean, we're still probably going to make it if we, take care of business, but that's never a guarantee.
We got a tough schedule coming up.
We do have, that's what I'm saying.
Northern Iowa's a good team.
That's what I'm saying.
North Dakota State, obviously.
And then at Youngstown State, which again is a team we should beat, but they whipped us at home last year.
That's right. That was one of those games you were talking about.
Exactly. So, South Dakota's DBs played really well. They had 8 pass breakups. Avante Cox, who might be going to the NFL, might be getting some NFL training camps, only had 2 catches in the game. That's not what needs to happen if we're going to make it deeper into the playoffs this year, or even get there in the first place. Like you said, with this tough schedule coming up. So, yeah, not a great weekend for the football Salukis.
It definitely was trending up, and it sucks to see that. Not to say that this game is a killer, but we've seen this happen. It's kind of like, it's almost comparable, at least my first year as a Saluki fan, last year when I first got here. You look at it, and it reminded me a lot of those Raiders teams with John Gruden, where they'd have these, they'd bounce out to these 6 games, and they'd have like a really good start where you get your hopes up. And so I just don't want to see that happen again. Obviously this year it was pretty bad to start the year, but then we start trending up. But once we hit game 8 or 7, it seems like that's when we really start to get high on ourselves and fall to a South Dakota. Or last year it was Youngstown State for our last game. I believe last year, Missouri State had a great end to the year, but they were kind of like us to start the year. We should have beaten them last year, and we didn't get the opportunity to do that. Same thing goes for Northern Iowa. We got upset a lot at the second half of last year. So hopefully we can right the ship before the tournament and maybe get an upset over one of these teams.
Yeah, and something I just wanted to mention here, I wrote down in the notes. Baker threw the ball 43 times last game. That's 7 more than he had most previously. That was against SEMO. He threw 36. That was the most he's had to throw this year. I don't know if there's a correlation with having to throw the ball that many times, but I'm just surprised that Avante, like you said, only got the ball twice of those 43 attempts. That's not a good sign. Our wide receivers obviously just couldn't get open. And something else I just wanted to...
Sorry, I just had a thing in my throat. I just wanted to stop it real quick. We can cut that out.
And something else I just wanted to mention, the run defense, I should say. They gave up over 205 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't think we've seen that type of, I should say, lack of performance from our rush defense this year. That's concerning going into these next couple of weeks where we're going to be playing some really, really good teams. I feel like this should not have happened against South Dakota.
That's right. Those South Dakota backs were getting almost whatever they wanted. It seemed like, especially at the end of the game when we really needed to stop. It was really, it's a little bit disappointing from the Saluki fan side of it to see that, they broke out for like multiple deep runs. They probably could have scored again on us, but, we got to bounce back. And so hopefully we can just knock off Northern Iowa. They're kind of struggling like we are. They weren't nearly as good as they were last year, and hopefully we can get it right.
Absolutely. Let's hope this isn't a loss that really sinks the season. When we did lose 2 in a row to start the year, it's not saying we can't do it again. Northern Iowa is on paper better than the South Dakota team we lost to, so let's just hope we keep the momentum going. Rough weekend for Saluki sports. I'm not saying anyone on the podcast jinxed it or anything, but those are rough weekend for Saluki sports.
That was, I'll take the blame on that one. That definitely goes my way. Now, luckily for our next segment, basketball's going to be starting up in just about 2 weeks, roughly. So we're going to get the opportunity to talk to shooting guard Trent Brown about basically, how are the transfers doing, how are the freshmen doing, what can we expect from this year's team. So we will see you in Saluki Space. Here we are with episode 7 of Saluki Space with shooting guard for the Salukis, Trent Brown. And we wanted to basically just get your take on what you think is going to happen coming up this season and, maybe see how some of the transfers and freshmen are doing. But first, we might as well ask you, who's the best 2K player on the team?
It's got to be Dalton Banks. I'll tip my cap to last year's Ben Harvey. He definitely put in a lot of work on the sticks, but Dalton has been grinding this year, and I think he got his player to like a 99 overall within like 3 days.
That's actually insane. But yeah, are you a big 2K player yourself, or?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm very poor at video games, past like the Wii and the GameCube.
Nice.
Was just still speaking about basketball, just in general. Jordan or LeBron, which one would you go with?
Obviously, being in Illinois, like, everyone loves Jordan, but I'm a LeBron fan. I think LeBron's the greatest of all time.
I think we might have
Alrighty.
somebody opposed to that with the hat and everything today.
That's didn't know that before the interview, but I guess we'll continue. So if you weren't into basketball, what sport do you think? Maybe that you're good enough to be D1 at, but which other sport would you pursue?
I guess the other sport obviously that I loved growing up was football, but lately, obviously the last like couple years, like I've really started like I caught the golf bug, so I would
Yeah.
definitely try to be like a golfer.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I'm just kind of wondering, like, who's the biggest hype man on the team, I guess? Who's the one that's always, like, yelling at you guys, trying to get you guys doing better performance-wise, making sure you guys are in the game and everything? Who's your biggest hype man?
I don't know. I think a lot of people do a really good job of it. I think Clarence has come in and like done that really well. Dalton Banks does a good job. But I'd say day to day, it's just kind of anybody can step up. We have a pretty fluid locker room where everyone feels like their voice is heard. So a lot of people can come in every day with a lot of energy, and it's a pretty good group.
It seems like whenever they have the Jumbotron stuff and you got to have a person stand up, it's usually you. So honestly, is there an argument to be made that you're the biggest guy on the team? I
didn't really want to talk about myself there, but I'm probably the most obnoxious at times.
Yeah.
I like to make people smile and whatever else and gas them up a little bit. But, doesn't work sometimes, but
No, I respect
keep
it.
going.
I respect it because I could definitely see like Lance or maybe Marcus being a little too cool to scream on the Jumbotron, but no, it's good that you're putting yourself out there. Is there a player that you model your game after?
I wouldn't say specifically, but obviously like through the coaching staff, just being a shooting guard and that kind of becoming my role here. I've watched like a lot of like Klay Thompson and JJ Redick and just certain guys like Fred VanVleet, just the way they play. Obviously not the most athletic people in the world, but just like can still play at a really high level.
Gotcha.
Or then I know before we were talking about some of like the funnier guys on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say is like the comedian?
God, I always have said Chris Cross from the moment that he stepped on campus. J.R. Jacobs is making a case for it. I guess I'm going to still give it to Chris out of seniority because I've just had too many moments with him. But J.R. he's on his way up.
Doing that gritty the one day really got to you.
No, he's making a case for it.
And so basically, if we look ahead to this year's team, what are the team's expectations heading into this year? And then do you guys feel like you met your expectations last year in terms of what you had in mind for preseason?
I would say, to answer your obviously second question first, no.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we did. We always expect to win a lot more games. We expect to make the tournament. We expect to hang banners. And I think that kind of leads into this year, and that's exactly what we want to do, and I know this group is capable of. We got all the talent in the world. It's just about going out there every night and playing and proving that we have the talent to do it. We want to win the tournament. We want to win the regular season. We want to make the NCAA tournament. We want to win games in the tournament. So, yeah.
You guys were picked third for this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
That might be used for some motivation, would you say, this upcoming year? I know, like you just said, you want to hang some banners, of course. You want to be first place. Is that going to be used for some motivation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, preseason, like rankings, obviously you just never know. My first year we were picked last and we ended fifth. I think Drake a year or so ago was picked about fifth or eighth and ended up winning the whole thing or tied for it. It's one of those things like, we can look at and say, okay, they think we might be almost there, but we're not quite there. And so it's up to us to push us that extra bit.
So when I got here last year, I'm a sophomore now, so when I came, I obviously went to a lot of your guys' games, and they talk about Brian Mullins coming from that Loyola Chicago system, and it seems like you guys were really, really good on the defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that it looked like last year you guys prided yourselves on. Is that what you guys are going to pride yourselves on this upcoming season? Or maybe is there a specific other area of your game where you think that you guys really excel at?
I think our bread and butter is always going to be our defensive end. Coach Mullins is just a great defensive mind, and obviously bringing that over from Loyola and the way they play, we played a very similar style. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of our games were pretty low scoring against them specifically. Kind of knew each other's plays pretty pretty easily. But no, I think this group can get out and run. We're a lot faster and longer, a little more athletic this year. So kind of in transition, if we get our point guards and other guys in front of the ball, we're going to be able to move and score some points. So I'm excited.
Gotcha.
And something else I just want to point out that seems like it is a huge advantage for you guys, the dog pound.
Mm-hmm.
How important is that going to be for you guys this upcoming year?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, no one I played the COVID year. No one wants to play in an empty gym. Like it's hard to get up. Your legs are a little more sore. Your knees creak a little bit. But when you see people in the stands and obviously your friends and obviously family and just the community itself, no, the dog pound is massive to us. It's so cool to see it filled all the way to the back, and it makes that place such a special feeling. I obviously we're biased, but I truly, from an outsider's perspective, I would even say that's by far the best student section and the best atmosphere in the conference.
And so, what's it been like so far getting to know some of the transfers on the team? You know, you have the transfer portal opening up over the past couple of years, so there's obviously been some coming in and out. But, give me some thoughts on, Xavier Johnson, I believe, came over from George Washington. You got Clarence Rupert, who came from St. Peter's. Has he offered up any advice about being what did they make it to, the Elite Eight last year,
Mm-hmm.
Sweet 16, something like that? So, basically just tell me about the transfers, who can we expect to play, and, what are they like?
Yeah, so the transfers were AJ Ferguson, Clarence Rupert, and Xavier Johnson, obviously the ones that you named. Xavier Johnson, great player from George Mason. He's a great all-around point guard. He's pass first. He's looking for guys all the time. Highly competitive. I would say that's one of our biggest strengths this year is just how competitive everyone's been since the moment they stepped on campus. Clarence Rupert, obviously from St. Peter's, made the Elite Eight run. Came in just obviously he's ready to go. He's not here to just take a step back. He's here to get back there and then some.
Yeah.
So no, I think his day-to-day mindset has been great, especially lately. He's all about winning, and obviously that's what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Then AJ Ferguson, he's a D2 transfer. He's been awesome. He's really come into his own the last month. He's starting to figure things out. The game's slowing down for him. He's a longer kind of finisher at the rim, and his shot's coming along real nice. It's good to see.
Gotcha. And then in terms of, not exactly the elephant in the room, but the guy who stands out, Mr. 7 foot, Cade Horniker, our new freshman. Thoughts on him? Where do you think he's at in his progression, and where can we expect him to be by the end of the year?
Oh, Cade's great. He's a workhorse. He's obviously young, and so he's learning a lot at one time, which is never an easy thing. Obviously, we've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's got a great head on his shoulders. He's super smart, thinks the game. He's a good communicator. I'd say his biggest thing is just getting stronger and stronger throughout the year, just killing in the weight room. So he knows he's ready to play, but he's always going to try to be in the right position. He's always trying to do the right thing. He's a great teammate to play with, so it's going to be hard to keep him off the floor.
Gotcha. And does anybody, I saw his photography Instagram page, and, it seems like that's something that he does. Does anybody else have a fascination with, maybe it's not photography, but do any of the other guys on the team have a certain passion that they really outlook like that?
I wouldn't say to the extent of his photography endeavors, but no, I mean, I think he's one of the best that I've met, and he does a great job, and he's super passionate about it. He's driving around taking pictures all the time, and asks us to come, and I love doing it with him. But no, I don't think there's a passion like that anywhere else in the team that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah. Just didn't know if Xavier Johnson was in the knitting or something like
that.
Yeah. This is now kind of a more senior-led group. You're a senior now. There were only 3 last year compared to 6 this year, 6 or 7, I believe. Do you almost feel any more responsibility now that you're a senior on a very senior-led group?
Yeah, obviously just it comes with the title and senior and everyone thinks that might be expected of you. But I would say leadership roles and stuff hasn't changed a whole lot. Just being from how young our group was, we were still always been one of the older and like in the program longer, knowing like what our coaches expect from us. So even by sophomore year, we've had to take on leadership roles. How good we did at it, obviously, it's a learning curve, but no, for sure, just having the senior title by your name, you have to take a little extra ownership. Coach wants it to be a player-led team, and so I think we're doing as best as we can, and I think we're doing a pretty good job.
So we're heading about, what, 2.5 weeks away from the season here. Is there any chance you would give us kind of maybe like a picture into what you think the starting lineup might be, or maybe the first team, or are you guys switching in and out guys, so still seeing where they all fit?
I'd say we're switching a lot of guys in and out right now. I don't think anyone really knows the full rotation yet.
Gotcha.
And I'm not trying to be cryptic. It's just the truth. We really do not know yet.
Gotcha. And so you guys have this charity game with Alabama coming up. That's this Saturday, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So can you tell me about that? How did that kind of come to fruition, and what charity you guys giving to? Just tell me about the game.
So obviously we're playing at, I think, one of their historical sites. It would be essentially like playing at Davies here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little smaller gym, but it's like their original basketball gym. And obviously it's all for charity. I can't remember the name of the charity.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
But no, it should be really exciting. But I mean, in terms of finding out, I mean, we found out on Twitter too.
Yeah.
That we were gonna play them, and obviously it was super exciting. Then we heard rumblings, obviously, around like the scheduling and stuff before it was officially announced. But I know Coach wanted to play some high major teams before the season, and obviously tried to schedule them in season as well. Obviously with Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
But we're trying to see where we're at, and obviously it'll be a great test this Saturday. So no, we're pretty excited.
Yeah, it's definitely a very good team, very good test before the season comes up. Can you give me any thoughts on the new teams joining the conference? Murray State and Belmont obviously just joined. I mean, we did get UIC too, but UIC hasn't exactly had the best success over the past couple of years, unlike Murray State and Belmont, who've produced real NBA talent. You got Dylan Windler, John Morant, and just a lot of other guys. So basically tell me, what are your feelings on Murray State and Belmont, and kind of where do you view they will be in this year's season, do you think? Because Missouri Valley, I think, is tougher than the Ohio Valley, but still.
Yeah, I'd say kind of year in and year out, we're kind of a step above. But those are two great programs, and I think they're very Valley teams. They give off that same feeling that. Obviously, Murray State's got a strong fan base. We played there my freshman year, and they had a great crowd, super into it. It felt kind of like you're traveling to a Valley team again, so that's really exciting to bring them on. But obviously, bring all the talent in the world. It brings so much more light to the Valley and the conference, and gives you a chance at multiple bids. No, I mean, them as a program, obviously they've been successful. So a lot of their teams are new, and they're going to have a lot of new guys and maybe a few returning pieces. I know Murray State's kind of just all washed out and then brought in a bunch of guys, but just their cultures and what they want to do. I mean, they're not coming to take 5th or 6th or 7th. I mean, I know they're projected towards the bottom or something like that, but expect them to probably shake some things up a little bit. But
Gotcha.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out as the year goes on, and it'll be interesting. I'm really excited to go play them.
Yeah.
And kind of on the same lines with those new teams, you're losing Loyola.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have been very, very well these past couple of seasons. Are you going to kind of miss playing against them, or maybe not so much since they've been playing so well?
No, I'm going to miss those games a lot. Those were always really exciting games to wake up for, and now you get to play them. Anytime you can play a great team, it's going to be a good time. It raises your level. It obviously attracts a lot of people to come. It'll be bigger games. So yeah, we'll miss them, but we had some great additions.
Gotcha. And then, you've been around the program for, many years, at least comparatively, with other people, with COVID rules, all that stuff. And you've seen how the season goes. You see, and so can we get your truthful, honest opinion about how this season feels in a way? What can we expect from this year's team? Maybe in the win category, could you give us like a, nobody's going to go undefeated. I mean, if you want to say you guys think you're going to go undefeated, you can say that. I'm not going to say you can't. But what does this feel like for this season?
I mean, I like.
Is it different? Is it different than many years?
It is. I think this is our best team to date.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have the most talent. We're the most athletic that we've been. It's definitely like one of the most competitive groups. We just got to work on doing it like every drill, every practice, every rep, every possession. Is like our biggest jump that we need to take right now. But in terms of wins, I mean, obviously we definitely want to hit that 20-win marker. I think those are signs of like good teams, but obviously we want to be great teams. So to do anything really special, obviously you got to win more than that if you really want to hang a banner.
Yeah.
You really want to go to the tournament. I don't really know the full number on what you need to get, but I think during a conference play, I mean it's a brutal stretch in conference. So yeah, it's pretty hard to come out without a loss. Even for the top teams that are even ranked and whatever else. I mean, you travel to Terre Haute, Indiana. I mean, you better be ready to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, I couldn't give you an exact win dot
get it there,
on
but the 20-win mark is like
I mean that's where
whatever.
we want to go. We haven't been there quite yet since I've been here, but I mean we gotta get over that hump.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, well, that's all with the questions we got for you, Trent. We really appreciate you doing this. This has been Saluki Space with shooting guard for the Southern Illinois Salukis, Trent Brown.
Alrighty, for this week's Told You So segment, this guy is sitting at 25-12 with a roughly, I got 2 right and 2 wrong. I completely forgot to do the math on it, so it says 69% correct pick percentage. I'm going to do that math real quick on my phone. Let's get it ready. Anyways, while we do that, Clemson, I did get correct. Although that game, I was right. I told you guys I like Syracuse, and Syracuse is a good football team. We've got Texas was incorrect over Oklahoma State. Man, that hurt. That hurt really bad. I don't want to talk about that game at all. Shut up. I don't want to talk about it.
Rest in peace.
I don't want to talk about it. Number 10 Oregon dominated UCLA. That one was a pretty crazy game. And then we have Kansas State, they lost to TCU. Although I was correct for, 3/4 of the game?
Yes, you were.
I'd like to say that even though I was incorrect on 2 of them, I still was relatively close in terms of what we can expect from each team. I'm currently sitting at a 68% correct pick percentage, so who really cares? There's no real difference. For this week, I think some of the great games we could talk about was Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Now, I don't have that written down here, so I don't know if you'll have a stat for me, but that's a good ranked matchup. I like Kansas State. I'm going to rock with them this week. Even though Oklahoma State beat my Texas, I went in that game thinking Oklahoma State isn't really that good. I don't think Texas is really that good. We still have a lot of holes in our team. I think they're a good team. I'm not going to sit here and say that. But the fact that we were, I think we were a touchdown favorite over Oklahoma State in Stillwater, that was ridiculous. Texas, we get all this buzz and all this stuff. I definitely didn't contribute to any of it, so don't worry about it. I'm just saying this Oklahoma State team is bound to lose one more. There's no way they're just a one-loss Big 12 team. Give me Kansas State over them. Do you think that's dumb, or what do you think about
No, I think this is a perfect bounce back spot for Kansas State.
Yeah.
If I had a stat just off the top of my head, I think I used one last week for Chris Kleiman. I don't remember if it was as an underdog, which they will be in this game.
Yeah.
But also Mike Gundy is the best Big 12 coach against the spread since he's gotten to Oklahoma State in 2005. So 18 years of mileage there. He's the best against the spread. I don't know what it is, but it makes sense on both sides here. The stats would back up both of these teams. I would agree with you personally and pick Kansas State in this one just because of the bounce back spot. But is Adrian Martinez playing? Isn't their backup playing? I believe they got down to their 3rd string, didn't they?
Yeah, it was that.
So that'll depend on a lot. If Martinez doesn't play, I think Oklahoma State wins the game.
Yes.
Which sucks because I would love to see Kansas State win.
100%. And now, do you remember if it's going to be Manhattan or Stillwater?
It's in Manhattan.
It's in Manhattan. So
It's in Manhattan,
if
Kansas.
Martinez is back,
We're bringing in the if
Yes.
factor
If.
for this one. If Martinez is back, I like Kansas State. If they don't, I'm going Oklahoma State with
Yeah.
you. So the other game that I think is important we should talk about is number 2, Ohio State at number 13, Penn State. This is going to be a huge game for Stroud. I mean, obviously the biggest game of the year is going to be Michigan. However, this is going to be a really good one to kind of put him on the map. Now, granted, I'm not the biggest CJ Stroud fan. I've said that on here. I don't necessarily think he should be the favorite for the Heisman right now because who they played. I mean, there's got to be a narrative. There's got to be something in the Heisman. And right now, he beat one of the worst Notre Dame teams we've seen in years, an awful Big Ten schedule. I know you're an Ohio State fan, so this might be some slander.
It's okay.
I still have
I'm
them
used
number
to
one
it.
in my AP poll.
Okay, well that's all I need
I
to
think
hear.
they're a
Keep our
very
AP.
good team,
The CP.
but I just don't think that CJ.
Nicole
See,
Bowl.
that's right.
Capitals.
The capitals.
Cool people.
That's right. And that's not good. That's cap. but no, I like Ohio State. I don't know why they're not number one. They have the best offense in the country. They have everything. But we've seen C.J. Stroud in these type of games. You know, Penn State, their defense is not for the faint of heart. I mean, they have a lot of really good DBs that can defend some of these guys. And I can't remember, is Jackson Smith-Njigba coming back for this game or what?
I mean, he came back against Iowa, but clearly still dealing with hamstring issues.
Yeah.
I'm worried about him just not being healthy his entire season.
That's true.
I don't know what's wrong with his hamstring, but hasn't gotten fully healthy yet. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Hasn't mattered up until this point. This might be a game where it matters, but I really don't know, honestly.
Yeah.
About that.
He makes a huge difference because, I mean, even though we haven't seen him this year, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is that guy, so is Emeka Egbuka, if I mess up that name, sorry.
No, that was perfect.
Oh, then there you go. And they have a good wide receiving core without him, which is
Yes.
crazy. And I still pick Ohio State to win this game. That being said, it's going to be in Beaver Stadium. It's not impossible, is all I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's the same thing with the next game that I'm going to display, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, but if JSN comes back, I think Ohio State is unbeatable, but this other thing needs to happen too, and that's if CJ Stroud finds that dog in him. Justin Fields was, played at Ohio State for a couple of years. He had that dog in him. He tucked the ball. He ran. CJ Stroud is just a wussy when he has the ball. Like, I don't know if you saw against Iowa, he took a sack where he looked like he'd never been hit before. He probably hadn't, honestly.
That's an Ohio State / Alabama effect. That's why I don't like these quarterbacks.
Well,
the fact that I see C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young at the top of draft boards makes me
I think it's more. I think that line of logic lines up more with CJ than other Ohio State quarterbacks. I think
Yes.
I think it's just him.
Yes,
And that's just
I
kind
agree
of
with
the
you
culture
more there.
that he came from. In order for Ohio State to win the national championship, that's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to get some nuts and start running the ball when it's not open, and learning how to take hits because our O-line is great, probably the best in the country actually.
Yeah.
They're not perfect. Anyway, with the stat, I'll get off my soapbox now. With the stats, college football stats went 3-1 last week. The only loss was the Kansas State one. I almost put an asterisk next to it, 3-0-1, but I decided to take the loss because if you're up 28-10 at halftime, I mean, they were up without Adrian Martinez. They scored all those points without him. So if you're up 28-10, there's no reason to lose that game. In his career, since 2014, James Franklin is 6-2 against the spread against Ohio State, which is kind of a crazy stat now. Only one of those have come out to be victories for James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. But, he struggled. He's always struggled against Michigan. It seems like he plays his best games against Ohio State. This is a 15.5 point spread right now. I wouldn't be shocked if they cover this at all.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick Penn State to cover this spread, but to lose the game by maybe 10 to 13 points, maybe something like that, maybe even less. I don't know.
Yeah.
Penn State always just gears up for this game.
That's true, and they're going to be rocking there. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personally, I like chaos. So I want Penn State to win,
I understand.
but Ohio State's going to win. There's no way. I don't see a single way that they lose. Now, to this next game, number 19 Kentucky at number 3 Tennessee. I might go crazy on this one. I think I might pick Kentucky because Tennessee are the big. Listen. When you beat Alabama, that's something special, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Tennessee beat Pitt without their first string quarterback by only a touch. Like Tennessee, I've been pretty vocal about my
lack of belief in Tennessee. They're going to lose one more before Georgia. I would be shocked. And if they do pull out and win this, like they win out the rest of their schedule, and maybe the only loss is Georgia, I'll be very shocked because I don't think Josh Heupel is that good of a coach. That being said, it's in Neyland, and that place is just too rocking right now to lose to Kentucky. If this one was at Kentucky, or maybe it was at a I can't think of a team off the top of my head. I would say Arkansas, but Arkansas looked like a dumpster fire this year.
State, maybe?
I don't really like Mississippi State. I don't know. One of these teams that really seems like was on the come up. I think Kentucky is a very good team. They have a very good defense, which should be able to limit Tennessee's. I think this one's going to be closer than people think. I would say that. But I think Tennessee still gets the win here, especially with Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt playing, I don't know, the best duo in the country. So
I agree with you. The only thing I'd say with Tennessee is I don't think there's a team left on their schedule, and I'm even going to include Georgia in this, that can expose their big weakness, which is their secondary. I mean, Kentucky doesn't have a great passing game.
That's true.
Georgia doesn't have a great passing game. So the matchups line up for Tennessee, but maybe their secondary is just so bad that those teams will be able to exploit it. Regardless, the stats do agree with you on this one. Kentucky is a 12.5-point underdog right now, and they are 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games as a road underdog. Should have beaten Ole Miss earlier in the year when they went down there as an underdog. And they've won 3 of those games outright as well as road underdogs. So it's definitely possible, and with the look ahead next week to Georgia is definitely a factor as well. So watch out, Pauls. That's all I'm going to say.
yeah. And then for our final game, the game day pick, I have not watched enough Jackson State or Southern film, but I do know Jackson State, and I do know Deion Sanders and his son, Shooter Sanders. I feel like I always mess up his name. Shooter Sanders. Yes, that's how you go.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure you're right, but nevertheless, I'm just gonna go with Jackson State in this one. It seems like they have a good team. They have, Travis Hunter. I should tune in to more Jackson State games because I do want to see what Travis Hunter has to offer. That, Deion Sanders' son, all that stuff. But just give me Jackson State. I don't really know too much about that. And then just we wanted to talk about Heisman just real quick. Like I said, this game's going to be big for C.J. Stroud. He's the favorite, but if he puts up a stinker with 2 interceptions and only 2 passing touchdowns, that could lead to Hooker kind of taking the lead if Hooker, has a really good weekend against Kentucky. Because they're going to play a lot of ranked teams, and Ohio State, to this point, just hasn't. So, and then just a real quick kind of brush over of the NBA, some games to look out for. We got Lakers and Timberwolves on Friday. T-Wolves right now. I know we probably shouldn't even be talking about this because the Lakers are such stinkers, but they have LeBron, they have Anthony Davis. There's always kind of a chance with them. That being said, I think Rudy Gobert locks up AD. AD has not been, aside from the first game where everybody was, kind of went, oh my gosh, look, it's the AD of old. Guys, he hasn't played basketball in forever. He's going to look good. That's what we know about Anthony Davis. If you played him probably once every 10 games, he'd have a good game because he hasn't played it all, but he's just not. He's not the Anthony Davis of old. He can't do it.
You want to mention Russell Westbrook?
See, he's not even important enough anymore to even bring up.
Holy cow, he's so good.
He really, it's sad. It's honestly sad to watch it happen. I don't know if you guys watched that Trailblazers game, but that Russell Westbrook decision at the end of the game where he just chucks up that shot before the shot clock, and then Damian Lillard gets the shot. It's just bad. It's bad basketball right now.
So bad.
Give me the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is probably going to go off, and Rudy Gobert is probably going to look great on defense. They look all right now. I wouldn't call them top 4 team in the league, but it's whatever. Pelicans at Suns. This one's also on Friday. I love the Pelicans. That just depends on if Zion's back, but nevertheless, even if Zion's back, the Suns, in the NBA, we can get very confused with smoke and mirrors. We think it's the NFL. In the NFL, stuff like Tom Brady going out to a wedding before the game, that kind of stuff matters. Now, with the Suns, you can point at and say, DeAndre Ayton's mad because he didn't get a contract extension. Robert Sarver obviously had to sell the team. But in the NBA, the fact of the matter is the players are either so talented or so not talented. They've been there before. Like Chris Paul, when he played for, it was in New Orleans, right? His team went through Hurricane Katrina. He had to go play basketball in Oklahoma City before there was even an Oklahoma City team for forever. You think Chris Paul hasn't been through this crap before? You think he's not telling the guys in the locker room? The Suns are going to be in the playoffs. Those who pick them to be in the play-in is pretty ridiculous. They're still a very, very good team.
So I'm gonna pick them against the Pelicans, and then finally on Sunday I got Nuggets over Lakers. This one is pretty. Nuggets lost in a pretty disappointing one last night to the Trailblazers. Apparently the Trailblazers are just that team now. I mean, Anthony Simons is really good, but still, I love the Nuggets this year. I've been passionate about the Nuggets. I will continue to be passionate about the Nuggets this year, and I am 1-0 thanks to them because they did beat the Warriors
Great game
when I
against the
picked them.
Blazers last night too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it was a good game, but they lost. So
130 points. Wow.
yeah, their defense is still leaves a lot to be desired, but
It's early.
I just like their offense so much that I'm gonna pick the Nuggets, especially over the Lakers. What, the Lakers are gonna do something?
Yeah,
No.
heck no.
That's it for all my stuff.
Back to the gridiron for
Yes.
NFL picks.
I like that. We love the back to the gridiron.
Back to
Go
the
away.
gridiron. I only got to pick 2 games last week, but I went 1-2. The Chiefs kind of creamed the Niners in a game that I did not expect that big of a performance, although it is the Chiefs. I mean, what I should have expected, I guess. It was like 44-23 final.
Okay.
But the Chargers lost to the Seahawks. I did not see that coming. Geno Smith really is kind of emerging as like a NFC Pro Bowl QB this year, which is pretty amazing. I still love that story. I think we all love that story. But
They wrote him off.
they wrote him off, but he came right back. I am 20 for 27 on picks this year with a 74.07 CPP.
That's fine.
Not trying to brag or anything, but kind of hot this year
It's
so
fine,
far.
He is hot.
It don't matter.
They do matter
We'll get
to
him
me,
back. We'll get him back.
at least. But for week 8, I want to talk about the Niners and the Rams game. This will be in LA. The Niners 3-4, Rams are 3-3. The Rams are coming off a bye, so I think this is really, really important for them. These NFC West matchups always end up crazy. So I just
I
think-
wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't. This is a scary game. You know what I'm saying? Like if you were to put any money on this or anything, I wouldn't recommend it because this one's a scary one.
And get your lighter ready.
Yeah.
And this is already the second time that they've played this year. When the Niners and Rams played last, the Niners limited the Rams to just 9 points. So that's crazy to think about. Every time the Rams have played like a legit defense, they played the Cowboys, Bills, and Niners. Obviously, like I said, they've been limited to 10 points or less. So I think that's concerning just considering the Rams' offense this year. But the Niners, they got Christian McCaffrey last week. They only had a couple days for him to practice before that Chiefs game. This will be the first full week for him to get that playbook under his mind. So I think that's something that Shanahan will likely try to get used and experiment with. Rams, they're 5-3 off of a bye with McVay. That's including the playoffs, and I did include the Super Bowl as a bye there, but I'm not sure what you guys would consider that a bye to be. But anyways, nevertheless, I got to go Niners here. Rams offense just hasn't been impressive. Stafford's been too erratic. I'm going to go Niners 24, Rams 16 in this one.
Interesting pick. The stats do not back you up though, unfortunately. The stats went 2-0 in the NFL last week, so a nice 5-1 week for the stats overall. Should have been 6-0, honestly.
Yeah.
Since 2017, when Sean McVay became the coach, the Rams are 13-4 overall with the rest advantage. They're also 20-14-1 against the spread in divisional games, which is the best in the NFC West over that time period.
So you would pick the Rams?
I'm not saying I would. I'm just telling you what the stats are. None of these stats are my opinion. I'm an objective journalist here.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
seriously.
say, what if I was asking for your opinion?
Niners. I'd go Niners. The Rams. It's kind of like the Packers effect now, and the Bucks. Like they may just not be good this year, and there's really nothing else
The
you can
Rams
say.
really aren't.
No, you mentioned the Packers because they just are not good this year. They're going to be
Yeah,
The
what's
next
this next
game-
game on here? That's pretty interesting.
This next game I'm going to be really sad to talk about, but it's going to be Packers and Bills on Sunday Night Football.
Interesting.
Packers are 3-4 this year after 3 losses in a row.
Hmm.
The Bills, they're 5-1, probably the best team in the league right now. I'm probably going to vomit just watching this game because this is going to be terrible. The things the Bills are probably going to do to the Packers defense, which is highly overrated, and the offense is probably going to be limited to just 15 points, something super, super low. But it is Aaron Rodgers, so we always got to remember there's something about him in these underdog games that makes me always want to pick him, but I just can't in this one. The Bills are definitely going to probably take this one. Something I did figure out was a stat, I guess. The Packers have won 13 straight regular season primetime games. That's a streak that's going to be on the line in this one with Sunday Night Football.
That's a really interesting.
Half of those have been against the Bears, but that's not.
Yeah, that checks out. There's Bears, and then the Buccaneers this year, but we know the Buccaneers are trash.
And I know that extends into when Matt LaFleur started as a head coach. So it could be Matt LaFleur's first primetime regular season loss, I should say. But that's the longest since 2000. That could very, very well end this week. The Packers just need to get Aaron Jones the dang ball. Like, he's not getting enough carries, and I don't understand why they're not utilizing him enough in the pass game. He had 2 receiving touchdowns this week. Really good for Cole's fantasy team, I know.
Mm-hmm.
They have never been double-digit underdogs in the Aaron Rodgers era. That's crazy to think about, and they're 10.5-point underdogs. As of right now, I don't know if that line might move up throughout the week, but nevertheless, I'm going to have to go Bills in this one against my Packers. Final score I have here 27-20, but I feel like it might be a bit more of a blowout than that one, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Allen loves coming off a bye in his career. He is 4-0 overall after a bye. Straight up.
Interesting.
And that's something else I didn't even mention here. The Bills have won 7 straight in a row coming off a bye. And that extends past when Sean McDermott has become the head coach. So there's just no way I can pick against the Bills in this one. Even though, as much as I want to, my Packers, they're going to drop to 3-5. Very well might be out of the playoff race before we're even at the midway point of the season.
Well, that's the problem with the Packers, if you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're destined to play tougher games because you tend to be on prime time more. So they want you to play the Buccaneers, they want you to play the Bills, they want you to play all these teams, and you lost the last 2 weeks in give-me's to the Jets and the Commanders. So I mean, granted, from what we know, the Jets this year, they're not terrible, but come on. Gotta be the Jets. You gotta be the Commanders, man.
I do like the Jets and the Giants this year.
Call up Matt.
The Commanders, man, there's no excuse for that.
No excuse.
Just don't. I still can't believe it, but
Give Matt a call. Let him know.
Screw him right now.
Next game.
We're gonna think about the next game right now. Whatever. Monday Night Football. Browns and Bengals. This will be in Cleveland. The Bengals are 4-3. Browns are 2-5. This is the Ohio rivalry, so that's pretty cool. Bengals have been better in recent weeks. Joe Burrow, oh my goodness, he had over 500 total yards last week. 325 the week before, and Jamar Chase, always a beast. Their connection is just crazy. Reminds me of Devontae and Aaron from last year.
All right,
Really,
let's
really
go.
30 plus points in 2 straight games. Defense has been fairly okay this year. They're allowing 18.9 points per game. That's 8th in the league. I mean, I don't really.
Defense is legit.
Yeah, I don't really think anybody expected that defense to be that good this year. So that's pretty surprising to see.
Yeah.
But the Browns, they have the number 3 rushing attack, so that might be something that the Bengals will have to figure out a game plan for. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and Jacoby Brissett's legs for sure. Cleveland's only wins have been against some of the worst offenses in the league, Steelers and Panthers. So that's concerning to think about if you're a Cleveland fan. But the Browns have won 7 of the last 8 matchups against Cincinnati, and they've also won 4 in a row against them. Weird to say that the Browns have just dominated this type of matchup lately. So Bengals haven't won in Cleveland since 2017 when the Browns had their 0-16 season. I just don't think the Browns are going to be able to stop the deep ball, I should say, that the Bengals have. So I'm going to go Bengals 31, Browns 23 here.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson can't come back fast enough. Jacoby Brissett is just, I don't even know how to describe his play other than just terrible.
Yeah.
I think he's the reason that they're losing. Not giving the ball to Nick Chubb. I don't know why. He's a beast. Probably top 5 running back in the NFL when he has the ball in his hands.
Plus, he's on Cole's fantasy team.
Plus, he's also on Cole's fantasy.
It's also a
Come on,
thing to remember.
Come on, Stefanski.
You call him up.
I know. I got to call up
You got
Kevin.
We've got some calls to make.
That's it.
Grab the floor and Kevin Stefanski. Stats are going to back you up on this one, Joey. Ever since Joey Burrow became the quarterback in 2020. The Bengals are 16-7 against the spread as the road team, and they'll probably be favored in this one. So, yeah, stats back you up on this one. The Browns are desperate, so that would be the only thing that I can point to that might lead them to a win. Other than that, everything else backs the Bengals up.
Oh yeah, I never want to root against Joe Burrow. However, this Browns team, like you said, is desperate. They need to get some of these wins if they want to have a playoff opportunity with Deshaun Watson coming back in the next couple of weeks. And Myles Garrett could cause some trouble to that Bengals O-line. We've seen that where if you have one dynamic guy, it kind of throws the Bengals off. So I honestly don't know who to pick in this one because it's once again at Cleveland. Cleveland's had a lot of success against them. Stefanski's done a good job. I don't think Zach Taylor's really that great of a coach. Now Stefanski, there's been definitely some lapses this year that we're seeing. So just give me the Bengals. I'll root with Joe Burrow, and I think that they played awesome on this Sunday against the Falcons. I actually do happen to have. Man, we're just going through my fantasy team, I guess, this week because Joe Burrow was on my team and put up 40 points. So
Well, with some of those trade proposals we were trying to do earlier
Yeah.
in the week, I mean, my goodness.
I actually wish I had done that, but it's all right. It's no biggie. We'll talk about it after. We'll talk about it after.
And then just last thing I do want to mention, it is Call of Duty release week, so Kyler Murray is going to be on watch. I'm definitely probably going to sit him in my fantasy league, but they'll be playing the Vikings, and I would definitely probably pick the Vikings just because it's in Minnesota and it's Call of Duty weekend, opening weekend. It might be double XP for Kyler Murray. So
Yeah.
I do want to say though, it is on the road, so we won't be home. I don't think. I mean, do we know if he takes his system with him?
Oh,
I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it
him.
past him, but if there is any sliver of hope, it is on the road. So
he probably has his own backpack for it, I'm sure.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, probably a butler who carries it around for him.
Yeah.
Some sort of chauffeur.
Well, because if he carries it, then the end of the backpack drags on the ground. Anyways,
All right.
so basically, that's all for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 7. If you're listening on Spotify, please give us a like and a follow. And if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Put these out every Friday, and thank you so much for joining us.